Welcome to Growing Ecommerce.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Chris. I'm your host, or one of them, Mike Ryan of Smarter Ecommerce, also known as SMEC. With me today is, big change to this podcast, our new co-host, Christian Scharmueller. Chris.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor.
It's my honor.
It's really an honor.
So I want to introduce you, Chris, and I want to talk a little bit about why we made this change.
Mm-hmm.
First, let me just say something about Chris. Chris is he's a very handsome guy. As you can see, he's a nice dresser too.
Mm.
No one will ever accuse me of being fashionable. And when I first met you, Chris, I can tell you this
When
now
was it?
because we've known each other 8 years, and you're not my direct supervisor anymore. So,
And you're my favorite American, and I know more than one. Just
okay,
say.
That's good. That's important. But yeah, when I first met you, Chris, I was like, how to say this? I thought, to be honest, you were like just very flashy dresser and stuff like that. And I thought you were maybe a bit shallow.
Okay.
But that was actually me who was being shallow because I was judging a book by its cover. And knowing you the past 8 years, you're so deep, you're miles deep, and you're such a smart guy. And I'm really glad to have you as my co-host on the podcast.
I'm getting emotional now. This is unscripted, ladies and gents. Thanks a lot, mate. 8 years, by the way.
Yep.
Fucking long time. We did a lot of stuff together. This is not completely new to me. So I hope I can live up to your expectations. By the way, talking about expectations, mate, what are your expectations for regarding this new setup now?
Well, maybe if we just rewind to like why this change is happening. I mean, anyone who's listened to the podcast regularly, they'll know that it's been trailing off, like the volume has been dropping away. And I mean, basically, I was losing steam on the podcast. There's also a lot of administrative stuff that was not my strong suit for organizing interviews and stuff like this. And on the one hand, it's always my favorite like hour of a week is that when I get to talk to someone really interesting and get paid to do it too by Smarter Ecommerce is really great. But on the other hand, it was just a grind after a while. But now I want a format that's just a lot more dynamic and engaging. Those are really my goals, is that the content is a little bit faster paced and a little bit more entertaining, let's say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, the cool thing is, I can't remember how many conversations we had about e-commerce topics, maybe even some broader topics, whenever we go for lunch or coffee chats. And now we can do this in an official framework. I'm really pumped about that, and I'm just looking forward to it. My expectation is that we do it as much unscripted as possible, so that you can really surprise me and I surprise you. We might be a bit controversial at times. I would love to do that as well. And everything else, all systems are on go. Looking forward to it, mate.
Awesome. Well, just a word about what else is changing. As we said, we want to introduce like faster pacing to the show, kind of more formats. We're still playing around with what those formats are, but it can be things like Sherlock and Watson, dissections we want to do, Steelman, Strawman. We're going to learn that together.
Yes.
And if you as an audience have feedback for us, what you like, what you don't like, now's the time to speak up. Let us know. But on to today's episode, we are going to cover a bunch of topics, including Amazon Haul, Perplexity Shopping, a look at Nike's DTC efforts, where we stand now, and really looking forward to it.
Let's jump right into it.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Amazon Haul, mate. What is your take on this whole thing and the strategy of Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about what Amazon Haul is. It is a new, it's a new business model for Amazon. It's a new business line. And you can access Amazon Haul. I think it's technically out of beta now, but it's in the US right now. You can access it in the Amazon app.
Yes.
And the idea is that it's basically their answer to Temu. So you can buy things very, very cheap, and it'll take a little bit longer to get here. And it's related to this whole de minimis taxation topic, this taxation loophole. I personally think that Amazon blinked here. I think that Temu, we can talk about how threatening Temu really is to Amazon's business, but I don't know if this strategy makes sense long term. I don't know what you think about it.
I mean, when I digged into this stuff, the one thing which came immediately to my mind is the whole tariff strategy the US is going for now. I think the major thing about that strategy is that they want to import cheap products, right? I mean, they sacrifice the speed of delivery, but the idea is probably a slow delivery or price trumps slow delivery. Did I say Trump? Is this okay here? Okay, just okay, got it. But they sacrifice the speed of delivery for cheaper prices, and the whole thing, as far as I understand, is somehow based on the idea that they can import products very, very cheaply directly from China. Now, my question would be, what is the Trump administration doing about that? Because the de minimis Act is, I think you can import products below $800 duty-free, as far as I know. So what if this changes? What does it do to the business model? Because I can assume that they are losing money with every transaction they have, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact cutoff on the shipping, but it's on small orders, and that's exactly right. That whole situation is already under a lot of pressure from the administration, and we'll see, because Amazon they have to subsidize this. They've already turned on ads in Amazon Haul. They didn't waste a lot of time doing that.
Okay.
And you can tell they're looking to bring in some revenue into that property and try to offset it a bit. But we don't know how much they're subsidizing it by. To me, it's kind of like, we know Temu, there were reports that they were losing $30 per order or something like that back in the day. I don't know if that's still accurate. Amazon's losing money on every order. And
so does Temu.
Yeah, they both do. And Temu is subsidized by this parent company, PDD. Amazon has all kinds of business lines.
Sure.
Amazon subsidized other business models of theirs for years too. It's not a new thing to them.
I mean, they have been losing tons of money with Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah,
but it paid off long term. But this long term strategy, I'm especially this duty question. I mean, it's massively impacting the strategy, right? From a revenue perspective, and how much do they want to, or are they accepting to lose money, and for how long?
Yeah.
Because what do you think, Mike? Just one question. Do you think they are attracting? So basically, it's about defending market shares, or is it rather a question of can we increase the addressable market? What's the strategy here?
That's a good question. I wonder that too, because I wonder if Amazon how much they should worry about the orders they're losing, and are these orders actually coming from Amazon, or are they coming from like dollar stores or other budget retailers? It's not clear, but I think that Amazon, what they see is that this is maybe a thin wedge strategy from Temu, or kind of a foot in the door strategy, and that while it might not be all too threatening at first, that later on Temu can expand and change their business model. And there's every sign that they will. They're already onboarding sellers, like, local sellers. They're already working hard on building up their local inventory to avoid this whole taxation loophole problem.
Got it, yeah.
So if the loophole gets closed, that dependency, they've been working already for months they anticipated that this would happen.
Okay.
They're not dumb, whatever you want to say about the people at Temu.
No, for sure not. So if I understood you correctly, is that they could have a strategy to outpace Amazon. So they are now buying market share by being extremely cheap. The next step could be that they have their own warehouses in, let's say, in the US, if it's possible. Let's see, but have their warehouses right there. The fulfillment is done by Temu, and then they go somehow up market and sell at high prices.
Exactly. Yeah.
This would be a massive threat, to Amazon. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon's becoming a bit more like Temu with Haul, and Temu is trying to become a bit more like Amazon. And you spoke about market share. I think eMarketer just published numbers. If I remember, Temu has like 2.3% market share, which is very small compared to Amazon. But it's
Where's Amazon? Where's Amazon at?
Very high. I don't want to misquote, but it's super high. But at least 10 times that.
I would say around. I read something about 10%.
But I mean, the fact is that they got 2.3% market share within a couple of years. It's insane, and they did that just buying it with ads mostly.
What's fascinating to me is, I have a couple of nephews. Hi guys, by the way, if you're watching this, it's fascinating how Temu was able to educate the US buyer. I mean, because there was always buying so cheaply. It's something very natural, right? I mean, I think the human being always wants to have the best price possible, but also accepting that it's delivered. I know. What are we talking about here? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, and if you look up the Amazon numbers, I think last quarter alone, they had 40 million customers who used their Prime within 1 day, free shipping. This was the core value proposition of Amazon. And now they are deliberately setting up a a new entity which is completely diluting this very unique selling proposition, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, I think a possible miscalculation from Amazon here is like the question. It's for sure people like fast shipping, but it's not always necessary, and they offer it every time. And of course, like if you have the option of having free next day delivery or not, then you'll click it. But a lot of times I'm ordering something and I don't actually care that much when it arrives.
I think it highly depends on the use case, right? Yeah. There are products where you just don't care when you get it, as long as it's, I don't know, 30, 40, 50% cheaper. I mean, I'm absolutely with you there. What I'm still wondering is, I mean, I would love to get some calculations, hands on some calculations here, because you saw the massively aggressive discount strategy on Haul. I mean, sometimes you get up to 90% discount for products. Insane. 90%.
Yeah.
I mean, this can't be sustainable, even if you have a war chest of billions of dollars. Yeah. I mean, what's the strategy there? I mean, because they are discounting Haul products. Is this something Temu does as well? Because I'm not that much into Temu. So is there a discount on already super cheap products as well?
Yeah, Temu has a lot of in the UI on the website is very gamified. You spin a roulette wheel and stuff like that, and I think the outcome is predetermined. You're going to win and get the discount.
Okay,
but
that's crazy.
There's all kinds of discounting on both platforms. Yeah, I mean, Amazon is a lot more selective right now. So first off, the order volume on Haul is a lot smaller than the main platform, of course. So yeah, they're losing a lot on these orders, but it's not a huge volume right now. The question is where they want to go with that.
Talk about Amazon. The strategy of Temu makes perfect sense. They buy market share. They're losing money, but it's an aggressive market expansion strategy. If they can go somehow up market and have, I don't know, fulfillment by Temu directly in the US, they can, of course, go into other market spaces where Amazon is now with their core business model. Yeah. One thing I thought about on my train ride is Amazon could do the same thing, right? If they are somehow able to transform, let's say, these Haul clients, so this low price seeking clients, into loyal classic Amazon customers, then this bet could be a big win for them. Yeah. But I think it's a big if, because the classic Haul customer, I think they are hard to transform into loyal Amazon customer willing to pay more for products.
Yeah, I think that this is why this whole market segment that is being fought over, there's someone who is only focused on basically the bottom line pricing, and it's a question of, do you want to win the segment? Is this segment worth fighting for?
It's worth fighting for. But in days of where growth is more important than profitability, I understand it, also from a shareholder perspective. By the way, talking about shareholder perspective, I think we should have a look at the next earnings call of Amazon to dig into this.
Sure, let's do it.
Would be super interesting. Yeah,
let's do it. We'll pencil in the agenda. I have to look when it's going to drop.
Yes, perfect.
It'll probably be sometime, a month after the quarter closes. Yeah,
that's go.
Cool. Let's go in autopsy direction here. We'll do a pre-mortem because Haul isn't dead yet.
Yes, no, for sure not.
It's just getting started. They're actually hiring here in Europe as well. They're looking at potentially a worldwide expansion with it. But if Haul doesn't work, why? What was the cause of death?
Depending on what Amazon wants to achieve, right? Yeah. If they want to achieve volume, new customer segments, I think the question is not if it works, because it will work. Amazon has the brand, and if they're as cheap as Temu, look, I mean, it will work from that perspective. Yeah. If it's really about building a sustainable business model, I think that's the big question. And I don't know how big of a war chest Amazon has, how much they're willing to invest into this. So I would say if it didn't work, the main reason was that it's just not working from a long-term profitability perspective. And I think we'll find out.
Yeah. Yep. I'll answer that question and say that it's going to depend what really happens with regulation, because everything that's coming out of the Trump admin right now is, I mean, by the time this podcast is published, anything I could say
there's
is wrong.
A new tariff on the table.
There'll be something new or some change. I can't keep up with it, and I don't have the patience to read every single headline, and it's just going to be changed 24 hours later. But wherever the regulation settles, I think it's going to be very decisive.
Yeah, 100%.
But let's move on from Amazon Haul to another kind of a challenger story. Amazon Hall and Temu, definitely a challenger incumbent story. Let's look at this topic about Perplexity Shopping.
Awesome topic.
Yeah, I've mentioned it. I've mentioned Amazon Hall before on the podcast as well. Perplexity Shopping, I'm sure too, but let's just run through it. Like, what if Perplexity Shopping takes off? What do you think about that?
I mean, first of all, what I would like to put on front straight is, I mean, we are now in the business for, let's say, I think you're 8 years, 9 years. I'm now in the e-commerce business for 14 years. If someone had asked me, let's say 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, who is the one company you will never bet against? Google would be on top of this list, right? This is the crazy thing now. Now we really could argue that Google, for the first time ever, has real competition and a real threat to their business model, which is Google search. So for me, that's what I just want to put on front. So the discussion alone is crazy to a certain degree, at least for me. And yeah, I mean, what if I think Perplexity? I think it's not just about Perplexity. I think Perplexity stands for this new wave of competition. And this new wave of competition are, I would say, search providers, search platforms who are way more aggressively and way more open about integrating AI. Google is somehow became a slow company. Another statement couldn't have thought of telling you, saying to you a couple of years ago. So I think it stands for this new wave of search behavior and AI, integrating AI into these search platforms. This probably will be the one major differentiator for these new up-and-coming platforms like Perplexity. I think that they have a real shot to eat into market share of Google, which is still crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said there. I think Perplexity, for people like us who are very online, and probably a lot of our listeners who are kind of very online, they'll have heard of Perplexity a lot more. For a mass market consumer, they probably don't know what Perplexity is. But it's exactly like you said with this, it's that innovator's dilemma. I mean, Google has everything to lose here, and Perplexity has nothing to lose.
Everything to win.
And this is a totally asymmetric thing that's going on there. So what Perplexity is doing, they're integrating with shop systems like Shopify. They're integrating with payment systems like Stripe. Shopify, of course, has its own payment system in there with Shop Pay, but they're also basically building up merchant centers so that people can submit structured data to them, product data, and this is going to allow them to, it's in a beta right now, but that you can do a checkout while chatting with AI. So it functions way more. Is mind-blowing. Because the thing that is always missing for me, I mean, actually, Google has all of these assets too. They have merchant centers. They already have a huge pool of demand and supply.
AI power, money, people, brand.
They have the payments. They have. If you look at their Buy on Google program, it's just almost rebuilding that slightly. But they won't move first on something like this because it's too threatening to them.
Absolutely.
And this creates an opportunity for Perplexity.
I mean, if I may pick up the statement of yours that Google has everything to lose, I think, well, let's be sure about one thing. The smartest people on this planet are working for companies like Google. And they will find ways here. But I think they're still very uncertain about how to integrate this new search behavior and the AI modeling around it. How can they embed it in their business model? Right? And business model is paid search. And I think this is the one major advantage Perplexity has, because they have, like you said, nothing to lose. It's an upside for them. And I think we had a similar discussion during one of our lunches. I think Google also is facing somehow a brand reputation stuff, right? That the young people are not Googling in anymore. So they're
they say like search it up and stuff.
Search
like
it
this.
up and so I mean these are little indications that especially with this younger generation who are coping with AI on a daily basis. I think Perplexity has a real shot, which is good for one reason. I think you, me, and the listeners, everyone who will use these platforms, they will benefit. Because if there is pressure for Google, for the first time since years, real pressure, outside pressure, I think it will lead to more innovation again on Google's side, which is a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Google can weather this storm because, again, ultimately they could if this product would emerge, they could squash it. They have everything they need. If it would emerge in a meaningful way, the question is, could they do it profitably? But they have to fight that fight.
They have to fight it.
Like, we talked about Google search being their business model, but Google search, that's the whole thing of what they do. But it's a war
into everything else.
Yeah, but it's a war for a subset of all those queries.
100%.
I mean, even something people talk about like ChatGPT taking market share. Is that interesting or not? Are they taking the right market share?
Yes.
Because if people are just going to ChatGPT for informational queries and not commercial queries, then it doesn't matter.
It's a lost case here. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't matter. That's not the money-making part.
No,
so Google has to defend that core commercial query volume. And we have to see how that's going to play out. But I just want to add one more thing. You mentioned like young people saying, search it up, also searching more on TikTok and alternative ways of getting information. I think I saw a really interesting thing. I believe it was on Twitter X the other day, and I wish I could attribute it, but I don't remember who said it. It was anecdotal, but it was such an interesting idea because they were saying this person was someone like our age, and they're saying how their mom loves ChatGPT. And I think that's really interesting because their speculation was that there's actually adoption happening with young people who are kind of AI native. And you might think that like the older folks would lag behind newfangled technology or something, but actually it is so easy to work with and convenient.
Yeah, for sure.
That there's a part of the market where there's more friction in Google search than in ChatGPT or Perplexity or other things. So
no doubt
we could see that maybe that last stubborn core could be more people our age who grew up with Google search.
One last thing, because it's a super interesting topic. What I would like to conclude on is, yes, Google will face significantly more pressure. But I think we have to differentiate here, because I think the pressure they will face is most and first and foremost in their core markets, right? US, Europe. What I think Google has as a massive advantage on their side, talking about growth potential, all the new markets, right? India and co, where basically the internet adoption is still significantly increasing. Google has one major foot in the door because of Google Maps. We talked about that, right? All these highly convenient features Google has. This is the basis they can work from there. So what I would say is there is a high probability that Perplexity and co will eat into market shares in the core markets, but an overall growth story. The overall growth story for Google is still intact. It's no financial advice, by the way, but I'm just saying I think they have a strong business model, and especially looking at the growth potentials in new markets, because there they have this foot in the door. With the likes of Google Maps, the people are used to Google there. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, totally. They have a program. We're getting a little off topic from Perplexity, but let's sort of in. They have a program called Next Billion Users, where they've built lightweight versions of all their apps that are suitable for like local infrastructure, developing markets. And it's no coincidence that Google and Meta, these are the people building undersea internet cables across the ocean
there must be a reason, right?
Yeah, they're like they want these markets to come online, and they want them to get started with lightweight versions of the apps, and then as the infrastructure is more robust, get onto the full weight versions, which can be monetized.
Perfect strategy. What we can, I think, also conclude on, two of us, is that Perplexity is here to stay. That would be my assumption. And I think the competition, let's say it's not just about Perplexity, but these new search platforms, I think it's good for everyone here. The companies who are advertising on Google, the end consumer, the likes of you, me, the listeners, because this will spark innovation again on Google's side, and Perplexity will do their thing anyway. So I think it's a good thing in general.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not necessarily zero sum either. So let's see, because people might be using these services in parallel too. I think it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. Chris, you wrote something lately about Nike's direct-to-consumer strategy. And like you said, Nike is a brand that a few short years ago, they were on top of the world. You couldn't imagine them doing wrong.
It was the Google of the sports manufacturers.
Everyone in every Wall Street Journal, everyone in the world was writing articles about how fucking smart their strategy is, and now everyone is writing about how stupid their strategy is and how obvious the mistakes they made were.
Hindsight bias. Here we go.
But why don't you dissect that for us? But why don't we dissect that together?
Yeah, for sure. I just took some notes here that I don't forget the critical numbers here. But what I would like also to put on front straight here is I have always been a three stripes guy. So I was huge on Adidas from 6 years on. Yeah. I have to say the following: although my two favorite sports athletes, Roger Federer and Vince Carter, were both with Nike all the time. Yeah. So, but it was.
You were just saying me a Vince Carter gift this morning, by the way.
Yes, so of course. Yeah, Vince Carter all the way. So this was all kind of a hate love with Nike, and I followed this company very closely. And what's fascinating to me is that I think till the year 2022, Nike was the Google of the sports industry. They couldn't fail. They were growing. They were blowing Adidas more or less out of the water, although Adidas did their thing. But the gap between Adidas and Nike was just huge and basically growing. And since 2022, I mean, it's fascinating. The stock dropped by more than 50%. Yeah. Which is unheard of, right? And what I tried to do is I tried to find out what were the reasons behind it, and the reasons are, with like every issue in our life, manifold, right? It's multifactorial, but I think there's one major reason, which sounds crazy because everyone loved the strategy till it failed, was their extremely aggressive direct-to-consumer strategy. Yeah, and that led to significant tumults with their business, which is crazy, because again, everyone loved it. Everyone thought Nike is the one player who could go down the strategy and really succeed sustainably, and they didn't. And there are very, very interesting reasons behind it.
Tell me more about those. But first, I want to ask, because you said the stock dropped like 50%. Yeah. Do you think that was fair, or that they were punished by the market? Like the extent of that?
Look, I mean, from a shareholder perspective, I think the Wall Street is way too short noticed in their decision making in general. Yeah. It doesn't matter which stock you're talking about. So I think it was not fair to a certain degree. However, I understood the reasoning behind it, because the D2C strategy just it picked off greatly. I mean, just one number. In the year 2022, when they launched the D2C strategy, they grossed 18 billion in revenues direct to consumer. Yeah. To compare it with the overall revenue of Adidas crossed 24 billion as a whole. So D2C took off like crazy. Yeah. But then something happened, which probably we call a black swan. The Corona pandemic happened, and this changed the buying behavior fundamentally. And that's why I think I understand why in the short term the Wall Street was very negative about them. Yeah. Is it fair from a long-term perspective? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, tell us a bit more, just run us through some of the reasons, like what went wrong
quickly. Yeah. So first of all, the reason why they did it, I think it's obvious, right? They wanted to cut out the middleman, and we are talking about middlemen who were huge. Yeah. Foot Locker. I think they cut ties with Amazon as well.
They did. Yeah.
Macy's, and so they really went all in. The biggest middleman they had said, "No mas, my friends. We want to do it directly." And so they wanted to save margin. They wanted to control the shopping behavior end to end, and it was a genius strategy, because what they basically did is they called it direct consumer strategy or aggressive strategy. I think there was even the term aggressive in there.
Yeah.
And what they did is they created 4 major apps, which is basically driving the digital growth, right? Secondly, they were expanding their retail stores, flagship store strategy. And the third one is they wanted to connect digital with offline in a very, very unique way. And all 3 of them were really, really great ideas. Yeah. I mean, just to give you an idea, Mike, you have this Nike app, right? And Nike knows basically then everything about you. The products you looked up, the preferences, sizes, which sports you're interested in, everything. If you enter a Nike store, you don't even need a sales guy from Nike anymore, because everything is QR-based selling. You get the information directly via the QR code of the product you want to buy in your app. And it's highly individualized content, because Nike knows everything about you. They even show the cross-sell products you have to look at because you love this product. You can even check out without, it's a great idea. But then the pandemic happened, and 2 things basically led to a downfall of this D2C strategy. First of all, people became more price sensitive again, which is not a good thing for a D2C strategy, because you want to keep the prices as high as possible. You don't want to have this discounts on your direct-to-consumer strategy. And the second thing is people were just eager to go to stores again. I mean, very, very simple drivers here, which led to massive pressure on their business. And to be precise here, Mike, they were just off the shelves from big retailers like Foot Locker, and the shelves were filled with new brands. So Nike was not there. The people were going back to the stores. They were looking for cheaper products, and Nike just couldn't offer this. So these were the main reasons why this on paper genius strategy just failed. And now Nike has to crawl back. Just to be clear here, crawl back to Foot Locker. I mean, they also hired a new CEO who is basically reigniting the partnership with these big wholesalers and retailers, because they have to be in the stores again. That's what the customer wants. And I think it will be an uphill battle. Ultimately, Nike will be good again because they create awesome products still.
Yeah, and I think they're renewing their sports focus a bit more from what I remember.
Yes. What I will never forget, by the way, is that they dumped Roger Federer. He wanted a lifetime contract like LeBron James got, and Nike said no. So for that reason alone, they should suffer.
So now what I'm hearing is that the 50% drop was justified.
It's fair. You're right. It was completely fair.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, when I hear this, my takeaway is that they just... And this is broadly speaking true of the D2C kind of development of the last few years, but they underestimated the value of the retailer.
Absolutely.
They thought that retailers were a cost factor, just a middleman that you could cut out. And actually, there's a lot of things that retailers are specialized in and do well.
Yes. For instance, one last point here, Mike, because you are so right. And you know, we have a lot of customers who are thinking about D2C strategy, implementing or maybe increasing their efforts in a D2C strategy. But one thing is for sure, to cut out the costs of the middleman is very short-sighted, because logistics, stock clearance, returns, having basically an independent discount strategy, which is not directly affecting a brand. All these things is done by the retailer. Yeah. And one crazy number, I don't know where they are at right now, but I think in 2024, they piled up their inventory level to $9 billion US. So there's for instance, a very, very strong fact why Wall Street is critical on them, because $9 billion in inventory, and you don't have the retail network to clear it. So yeah, I think they underestimated the importance of retailers, and I think it's never an either or. I think you have to embed D2C into your retail strategy.
Yeah, and that's something that we saw like broadly. Like you see D2C ones that went public. I don't know, Allbirds, for example. Just some of these, they also started embracing retail.
100%.
You cannot no brand is an island.
And not even Nike. I mean, if Nike can't do it, I think to all the listeners who have been thinking about D2C strategy, I think it's the right thing to do. Be careful and then embed it into what you have. The retailer, there's a reason why we need, or you need retailers. Yeah, for sure.
It's a distribution stream. It can be an important one, but it's for sure one of probably many.
For sure. So I think we can conclude on that. And I think it's a good segue to the last agenda point of today. Time flies, my friend. By the way, again, it's an honor. Really feels good talking to you in an official frame.
It's good to have you on, Chris.
I will be Watson now, and you will be Sherlock. It feels very natural to me talking to you because it feels all the time. I feel all the time like that. So I will ask now probably 2 or 3 stupid questions.
Sure.
The agenda point is influence versus budget. I think it's a very, very interesting topic for retailers in general. Tell me more about this.
Yeah. The trigger here, last week at time of recording, there was a conference, Friends of Search in Netherlands, and no affiliation. I love that conference, so happy to give it a shout out. It's the least known, best conference out there for search marketing. And Rand Fishkin, I bet everyone here listening knows about Rand Fishkin. He was on stage presenting a chart about influence versus budget. And then Will Reynolds, also quite known in the scene, ended up posting this online, and it was really popular online, like 400 likes on LinkedIn, ton on Twitter. And so first off, we're going to show you what this chart looks like, but to listeners, this might seem petty of me, but it's the least readable chart I've ever seen. It's like a donut chart surrounding a pie chart, and there are 14 different segments, which is way too many segments for a pie chart. And to have
agree.
And to have a donut chart around a pie chart is a mind bend. And also one of the charts is in percentages and the other's in absolute values. But I also quickly redrew the chart, and we'll share that too, because it's a lot easier to read and talk about. But to Rand's point, because I don't want to be perceived as having a beef with Rand Fishkin, but because he doesn't.
Is there one? No,
there can't be. He doesn't. Okay. He doesn't know who I am.
Maybe this will change after this podcast.
Let's see. Rand, he basically compares the where influence happens in your different marketing channels and then where people are spending money. And this comes out as pretty critical of Google paid search. And I don't want to, of course, I have an interest in Google paid search. It's really my specialty, and I don't want to seem defensive here. But he shows, like, let's just run through by influence, kind of the top 3 most influential here are industry websites and blogs. That's changing fast with AI.
For sure.
Social feeds, good. YouTube channels, okay. And then he shows how budget is allocated, and by far the number 1 source of spend is paid search. Now, point taken. People don't invest enough on their influence channels, but it's also, to me, very apples to oranges. If someone thinks that Google search is an influence channel, they're sadly misinformed. I don't think anyone understands the channel that way. It is a demand capture channel. Yes. And I definitely think building up a brand affinity makes a ton of sense. Covering your funnel, all this stuff, it makes a lot of sense. People are way too short-term, way too focused on the channels they can measure, way too focused on performance marketing. I don't disagree with that. But I feel like it's a little bit of a staged argument in a certain way, because I think it's trying to say something about Google paid search that isn't entirely true. But
as your Watson, I have no more questions, because it makes perfect sense, honestly.
All right.
And we would love to discuss it with Rand, right?
Yeah, we can have Rand on a show.
Maybe he knows you by now.
Well, listen, it took me, it took me 3 minutes over a coffee to fix his chart. Yeah. I did it. Sometimes I'll do something quick as a little teaser or warm up in the morning, but it wasn't hard enough to be a teaser.
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's a misconception of the Google channel. Right. And I know you for 8 years now, and you're highly critical of Google, where it's due and where it's necessary.
Yeah.
But this one was not right.
Yeah, I mean, we can make a comparison here, and you can shoot me down over it, listeners, you write in, but like the worms that you throw into bait in the water are going to cost less than you're going to spend a lot on. You still need to have an expensive fishing rod.
It is what it is.
I'm sorry. And if you just throw worms in and you don't have a fishing rod, you are not going to catch any fish. Yeah, it sucks that you have to pay to capture the demand, but you do.
You do. Because my question would be, what can you derive from this? Stop Google paid, or shift the money to demand creating channels and you don't capture it afterwards? There are a lot of questions we can maybe tackle in one of our next episodes.
I think we're at time, Chris. Yes. It was an awesome first episode with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, mate. It was a pleasure.
And yeah, if you want to learn more about smarter e-commerce, you can visit us. I'm going to break the fourth wall just for fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Visit us at smarter-ecommerce.com. I made it extra cheesy just for you.
Your smile, man. Awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much.